There is a delay, Dorothy.
Got it. And we got that noise out. There's working.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. About a 30-second delay, as I recall.
You're loud, but you're out.
Good evening and welcome to TESN.US as we're getting ready for the finals here of the GNCC Club Playdowns. I'm Kevin Twitch. I'll be calling the action for you this evening as we have the Petrov rink of Plainfield taking on the Scimia rink out of Nutmeg down in Connecticut. So how did we get here? Well, both teams came out of the Pool B play. Petrov in the round robin went 4-1. Their only loss was to Senawani in their very first game back on Thursday. And for Scimia, they only had 2 losses. They went 3-2 out of the round robin, losing to Weber and 10-6 to Petrov, the same team they're playing this evening. Both of those games are back on Friday. So getting underway here first is Scimia and Eric Sebastian, their lead, delivers the first stone tonight. Scimia will be with the blue stones. Petrov will have the red stones. And a first stone, of course, typically in these situations, you're looking for a guard. And it looks like Eric has answered his skip's call, although actually they're bringing it into the house and bringing it all the way to the button. Actually, a beautiful button draw right there. And now the question for Petrov is to leave it or take it out, and his lead, Patty Colburn. I missed what the call is going to be, so we'll be watching it together to see what it is. Being so close to the center, one might think a draw, too, might be in order. Both sweepers have been working on it the whole way down, both the second and the vice. John DeYoung is the vice, and Don Arsenault is the second. And they bring it right up to a little bump back. So a little bit of separation here as we're going in for the second shot here of Eric Sebastian again on the Scimia rink. Again, these two teams played each other earlier this weekend. The result there was a 10-6 win by Petrov on Friday evening. And they've had certainly the easier path to get here for this game, as they had an early win over Guzman. And Scimia had to play their way up through the ladder, through some tiebreakers, and actually just, less than an hour ago, had a chance to beat Guzman. So not exactly a well-rested team. Petrov had a game earlier today, so they've had a little bit of time to relax. As now the second stone from Patty Colburn. First one again was a draw 2. That was taken out by Eric Sebastian with his second shot. And now we're at Patty Colburn's second shot. And a little bump back there. They'll get swept to the back of the house. And just out of play. So Scimia looking for a takeout again here. Similar strategy that he used to Senawani back on Friday afternoon, or Friday evening. Got into an early takeout in the first end to see what the other team had. And now second, Lawrence Carey, native of Fairfield, Connecticut, looking to do the takeout, and that's what he said he likes. He likes the takeouts, especially the double peel high weight ones, but in this case just a single, and he peels out his shooter. Maybe not what the shot that Ed Scimia wanted here. Now Ivo Petrov, the skip for the Plainfield rink. As Don Arsenault is second, getting ready for his first shot. And it looked like the call is going to be another draw 2. Both sweepers jumping on it early. As they swept coming up towards the hog line, now they've been called off. Waiting for the swing to develop. Evo down low, trying to watch where that path is coming in. And that comes in. It's going to hit just a little bit of a bump, but very, very close. Not much separation at all. It's going to be a tough takeout, but Scimia is going for that call to Lawrence. And another takeout weight shot here from Lawrence Carey. Sweepers staying off it for the moment. Starting to develop a little bit of swing now. They're jumping on it. And that'll take out both stones in the house and leave Blue sitting right now one on the button. No guards in play here in the first end. And for a lot of folks who are watching this on the tape delay and wondering why maybe we're jumping in so early here this evening, is that both teams have a long drive back. One team to New Jersey, the other to Connecticut, and they requested a earlier starting time, just get them home a little bit earlier. And the Rochester Curling Club oblige. As Don Arsenault now with his second shot. Again, looking for the same as before, looking for that draw too. Big swing here on the ice. And maybe a little bit more outside than they were hoping for. As that stone is going to sail through and wide. So a little bit of an opportunity here for Scimia to get a steal. Petrov has a hammer here in the first end. And now we have Dave Bykowski, the vice for the Scimia rink. His first stone of the evening. Looking for a guard. Sweeper staying off.
No. Get up. I am ready to sit down right now.
As both sweepers now jumping in, trying to get that center line guard. Stone's going to carry in, maybe be a bit of a biter. No, it actually comes up a little bit short from what they want. Not quite fully guarded, is about half the stone exposed to the left-hand side. And Evo looking at the opportunity here to bump out the shot rock. As John DeYoung is ready to make his first shot of the evening. Again, this is the GNCC Club Playdowns. This is the championship game. Winner goes on to the Nationals. The loser of this match has an opportunity possibly to, depending on whether or not Alaska exercises their option to send a team. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So if there is not an option from Alaska, there's an opportunity possibly for the runner-up from today's match to be going to Nationals. And Dave Bykowski getting ready for his second shot. And looking to put that guard back in. And bringing it down coming into the house, or across the hog line rather. And that comes in a very nice guard right on the center line, protecting that. Not too deep though. And now John DeYoung will be looking to draw around that and try to sit on top of that shot rock, maybe bump it back a little bit.
It's March and it's late fall, so I don't know exactly.
All right, Sweepers let this one go on its own right now, waiting for that swing to develop. And that's still riding pretty straight on the outside. It's going to come in, it's going to catch just the edge of the shot rock. And the shooter rolls to the back, call it the 1 o'clock position in the house. The shot rock still tough to see, I know, looking at the view here at home, but it's sitting at about 11 o'clock in the 4-foot circle. The dark stones, the dark blue stones don't show up real well here on the Rochester rings. And at skip Ed Scimia, getting ready for his first shot here. First skip stone here in the first end. Grew up in Pauling, New York, about an hour and a half north of New York City. One of those towns up in Dutchess County. Again, this is for a chance to go to the Nationals in Lakeville, Minnesota, coming up on March 9th through the 16th. That's the prize on the line. And Scimia's first shot. Looking to draw behind that guard he has on the center line. Sweepers just watching it at this point, not touching it at all. And the stones seem to be running fairly straight here on the outside edge. Very little curl initially, and then as they slow down, they'll go into their dive. Petrov sweeping that back. And tough to tell from this angle, but looks like Scimia right now might be sitting 2. Might be worthy of a measure there, as the Scimia stone coming to rest just off the center line in the back of the 12-foot. Towards the right-hand side. And now Petrov with his first stone. Looking at opportunities. Looks like the discussion right now might be for a promote. I give Ivo Petrov and his vice John DeYoung. This is a very, very experienced Petrov rink. They won this in 2011 and then again in 2012 and 13. For the last 4 years, they finished in the top 4. So, very skilled, experienced team here. Played together for 8 years. Their lead, Patty Coburn, a last-minute sub here this weekend, but has also spent a lot of time with the team. They're very familiar with his style, and he's familiar with everyone else. So, some really good chemistry here. All right, Ivo's ready with his first shot here. Looking for a promote. Oh, promote takeout, I should say. So it's coming down, just riding a little bit outside on that left TV line. Hits at an angle they probably didn't want, because it's going to come across and take out their own stone. And that leaves 2 blue in the house for Ed Scimia. As Nutmeg with their final stone here in the first end. The big key for the Scimia rink was to keep their momentum they've had here today. They've already got 3 wins under the belt. This is their 4th game today, so fatigue may start to set in somewhat, but certainly the adrenaline of being in the championship game will be an offsetting factor for them. Ed Scimia, a left-handed shooter. He's going to try to put a guard back up here on the left-hand side of the house near that TV line. And his final stone of the end for blue. Sweepers working it the whole way, trying to hold that line. Dave Bykowski calling the line, and they bring it right in. So right now, Scimia with 3 blue stones in the house. Petrov with none, but an opportunity here if they can get the right weight, swing in and sit down and come away with 1, negating the Scimia opportunity to steal for 3. That's what's on Ivo's mind right now. Another quick wipe of the stone here before Ivo delivers. And Don Arsenault and Patty Coburn, the sweepers. Nice controlled gentle release from Ivo. Sweepers staying with it, not jumping in yet. Now they do. Called quickly back off and then back on again. Off it one more time. Waiting for that line to develop. And it does. It's going to come in, bump blue back. So 1 for the Petrov rink here in the first end. As he defends hammer and takes 1. Talking with Evo before the game, he said the key to this match for his team was to be making the shots. And certainly Skip came through with his own mantra right there. As we're getting ready with the first shots here in the second end, I think the pace of the game will be fairly quick. Again, both teams with the long drives home, but and Patty Coburn with his first stone here in the second end. Just looking for it to swing back a little bit. Still hanging way outside. Now as it comes up to the hog line, starting to develop a little bit of a swing. That's going to carry into the house all the way to just about biting the 8-foot. And actually goes almost full 8-foot. And Ed Scimia quickly calls for the takeout here of his lead, Eric Sebastian. Eric Sebastian, 5-year curler. Got into it because he saw it on the Olympics, like many of the curlers on this Scimia rink. All right, Bykowski giving it just a light clean. Lionel right now is looking really good. Backs off. Lawrence looking to jump in, and it comes down. It'll be a nose hit. Little roll to the side. Stays in play. That's sitting at about the 2 o'clock position in the near house, and Eva looking to take that right back out again. So the call to Patty Coburn is a takeout with his second and final shot here in the second end. Line right now looks pretty good. Sweepers are standing by, and they're going to let it come all the way in. And another hit and a little bit of roll to the right. This time, though, the shooter stone outside of the house, and Ed Scimia is calling for a corner guard up front, right near the TESN.US logo. Eric Sebastian's second shot of the second end. Sweeper's jumping on this one a little bit earlier than they have on some of his other stones. Again, Ed Scimia's eyeing right about where the logo is. Yeah, Sweeper's coming in working hard. It's going to come up. It's going to clear the hog line, but not much more. Way up in the number 1 zone there. But sitting right on the TV line. And Don Arsenault now with the 5th stone here in the first end. A reminder that the 5-stone free guard zone is in play here, so you can't take out an opponent's stone through the first 5 that are thrown. You can take out, of course, your own. But you'll see both these teams avoiding taking out their opponent's stone. If they do, it gets replaced, so there's no advantage. This one's going to carry just into the house. Actually, comes up just shy of the 4-foot, and now it does go in. It bites the 4-foot. And Ed Scimia looking for the takeout here, looking for the roll off to the right-hand side. Maybe see if you can get some protection from that high guard. And Lawrence Carey with the takeout again. Yeah, takeout calls in the first, and a first stone here in the second for a takeout. Nice control weight. Here comes that swing. Dave Bykowski on it. And the hit, and just a little roll to the side. Provided some pretty good protection by that high guard. And Evo looking at his options here. Looking for the takeout, come around from the outside now. It's Don Arsenault. Native hometown, Brick, New Jersey. And right away, Sweeper's called on here. They got to hold that line, clear that top guard. Right now, getting pretty close, and they clear it. Calls the Sweepers off, now back on again. Hits, and Petrov sweeping furiously and gets it out. Nice sweeping job there by Evo. And the shooter remains in the house. But quickly he gets the attention of Ed Scimia here as he'll be looking to take this one out with Lawrence Carey's second shot. So a pair of takeout calls here for Lawrence. Sweeper's not on it yet. Scimia's watching the line very carefully. And now calls on Eric Sebastian. Single sweeper at the moment. Can't really move it, and that goes a little bit wide to the right. And an opportunity here for Petrov rink to maybe get a little scoring going here in the second end. Again, Petrov up right now, 1-0, scoring 1 in the first end. They had hammer, and they scored 1 on it. Now looking for a draw behind here from John DeYoung. Very, very light sweep initially. Still just a light clean. That's going to carry pretty far, though. One of the things that all the teams have been saying here this weekend is just how fast the ice is in Rochester. And over, I'm hearing words like consistent and great ice, and makes it easy for the sweepers to see what the speed is. That one carried just a little further back than maybe they were looking for on this one, though. Is Dave Bykowski getting ready to do a takeout with his first stone here in the second end. Line's looking really good initially. Sweepers just walking with it. Scimia trying to keep a low-scoring game here. So takes out the one, rolls to the side, a little bump on the stone that was at the edge. It looks like it is still in play. The blue stone is biting, so they're sitting shot, I believe, right now. The red stone here in the back of the house has a little bit less of a bite. But very quickly, this may all be a moot point as John DeYoung getting called for a takeout on his second shot. And nice release from the veteran curler. Right at the edge of the house, oftentimes a difficult shot to make. But sweepers only come in to bring the stone in on the roll. As they took out their own stone, however, put the shot rock into a nice position here. And Ed Scimia looking to take that out. Be careful that he doesn't come out a little bit wide here with Bykowski's shot and remove his own. Bykowski again, also a nice release. Very, very straight line. They're waiting for the swing to develop. It looks like the stones are running just a little bit straighter here tonight than they have earlier in the weekend. And that'll hit the red stone of Petrov. That goes out. And Scimia sitting 1. Again, there's this one red stone in the back of the house by him. Question of whether or not that comes into play in the end. But Evo now calling for a takeout from himself. He'll be looking for the roll to the inside. Try to tuck him behind that guard that's sitting on the TV line. Evo, like many of the members here on this Plainfield team, many other family members involved. Evo says his 12-year-old son, Georgi, is getting into curling. Part of that junior program down there in Plainfield. And now stone's on the way. Sweepers called to action and quickly called back off. Now back on again as DeYoung trying to guide them in. Hit the blue stone, roll to the side a little bit more than maybe they wanted. It rolls right to the button, however, exposed as there's only the single guard in play right now. That's off on the right-hand TV line, so not really a factor here as Ed Scimia gets ready for his first shot here in the second end. First skip stone for blue coming up. Scimia has been curling for 9 years. As I mentioned, seems to be a common thread on the Nutmeg team. Got into it again, saw it on the Olympics, wanted to give it a try. All 9 years, a member down in Nutmeg in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Yeah, quick wipe of the bottom of the running surface of the stone. And the sweeper's watching that line. Looking for a little bit of a cross over the center line. And that's coming in. Opportunity here for the double. Takes out the front shot and just misses on the backside here. So again, that spider for the red still in play. As we're down to the final redstone here in the second end. Petrov setting up for another takeout. Ideally, take that out and roll behind the blue guard. Sitting somewhere near the TV line, or near the T line, behind the TV line, at intersection. And Evo begins his slide. And he's going to just miss. He takes out his own in the back. However, another one rolls to the side. So for Evo, a disappointing miss there. Still has a smile on his face. A hand slap between himself and his sweeper. And Scimia now, he just needs to draw. Basically, full 12 foot. We'll get him 2 here. Use the old strategy, give up 1, take 2. You can do that consistently throughout a match, you never lose. Joining me here in the TSN studios, my friend Bob Williams. He's getting the headphone on, and Bob, welcome aboard here.
Hi, Kevin. I don't hear myself yet in my headphones. Should I, or probably not?
Nope. So, Ed Scimia now with his second stone here. Second and final stone, the hammer in the second end. Both sweepers working hard. Again, they need to get full 12 foot. Bykowski calls them off as this one will come to rest in the house. Bumps at the front of the 4 foot. So Scimia comes away with 2 here in the second end of the GNCC Club Championship game. And Bob, you had a chance earlier this week. You were competing on the Calabrese team that came up with a little bit of bad luck, but still came in about 4th place in the event. What did you think of the ice conditions out there, first of all?
The ice is excellent. It improved over the course of the weekend. Early in the weekend, it was very release and weight sensitive. As it went on, we got really good movement from side to side. Sheets C and D, we're looking at something like 15 seconds hog to hog, which is comparable to what you see on TV if you're watching the Canada Cup this weekend. Sheets A and B a little bit slower. Has to do with some of the history of our club and how our refrigeration plant and everything is laid out. I did compete in this event. I did play Ed Scimia earlier. Ed, like me, is, I don't know if you mentioned earlier, in his 9th year of curling. Ed and I played in the same Kaisers, never against each other. Today was the first game we played, and he wiped us out in the 3 versus 4 game. But he deserves it. He's got a really solid mechanics. He keeps his shoulders really square. He doesn't flare the stone. He doesn't dump the stone. He's very deserving. He doesn't get rattled by facing large numbers of stones in the house. So I'm really interested to see how he's going to do against the team in Petrov, who has won, I believe, at least 2 of these GNCC club championships.
Actually, 2 plus 1 more. They won 2011, 2012, and 2013. And interesting what you're saying about the Scimia style. I had a chance earlier in the weekend to talk to Evo about this Scimia rink, and he'd made the comment that he's seen them play for several years now, and was seeing a consistent improvement in the technique, the strategy, the tactics of this rink, the Scimia rink, and definitely it's a team it's improving every single time, and has many high moments each game. So yeah, he also was very impressed with this Scimia rink.
Yeah, and this is not to diminish Ed at all, but Ed was not, one of the top teams in those 5 and under mixed tournaments. But you can tell he's put a lot of time into his technique. Same with Larry. Last year they had a 5-man rotation with Craig Doucette, another fine curler out of Nutmeg, and they have a coach when they're playing down in Nutmeg, Jeff Hannon, who's been around the competitive GNCC circuit for a number of years.
Yeah, and only a combined total of experience of about 33 years on the Scimia rink. I mean, John DeYoung has 40 years on his own, and you throw in Don Arsenault, there's another 28 years. So a lot of experience that Ed's up against here, but certainly holding his own here in the early stages with a 2-1 lead as we're now in the third end.
And that's a good point Evo made about his tactics have developed. Ed was fearless earlier today against us in the tiebreak. Ed is not afraid to draw behind stones. He's not afraid to have rocks in play. He's got a fundamentally sound team that if we want to test them and see if they can hit on the outside, they will do it, and they'll say, okay, now how are you going to get your 2?
All right, so back to the action here as Patty Colburn is getting ready to deliver his final stone, the final lead stone here in the third end. Patty works at a general construction company over in New Jersey, Freehold Township. And he delivers his stone. This one's coming right in, looking to make it all the way right to the button, and it does.
He's a little bit behind the blue. It's probably not the best spot for him with hammer. Ed has some leverage there. It doesn't look like he wants to use that leverage quite yet. He's going to kind of leave Evo in limbo, although actually he's going to go for direct hit.
Yeah, Lawrence Carey getting the call for the takeout here. And both sweepers on it hard the whole way. And the takeout, and he'll peel out both the shot rock, and it looks like the shooter as well. No, actually the shooter comes to rest just to the far edge of the house, still in play and still counting.
I'm sorry, how did you refer to Larry a second ago?
He said he wanted to be referred to as Lawrence. I asked him earlier. I'll go with Lawrence if that's.
He did not tell you any stories about nicknames or anything of the like?
We gotta keep this PG.
No, it's nothing terrible. So much like Rochester is lousy with Chris's, so we have our Lindstroms and our Benways and our Janiacs and 100 Chris's. They've got the Larry problem down there in Bridgeport, and so he is Skinny Larry, as opposed to, I suppose, other shaped Larrys.
Okay. All right, well, Skinny Larry now getting ready for his second shot here of the. This time he's being called for a guard, try to protect that stone that's biting on the 4-foot.
Yeah, 4 foot's a good enough steel position to guard. If you didn't have that, you'd probably try to improve either through a tap or a second draw and just put more and more pressure on Petrov, make it the pressure build as the end goes.
All right, Scimia has just Bykowski doing a light clean at the moment. Still just a light clean. That stone's going to come to rest. It looks like maybe just a shade to the right of where they would have liked it. Still has an opportunity for about a half a stone there for Evo.
Oh, at least. Don is going to be able to see a lot of this being a right-hander. This seems like a solid call. Evo's going to ice this such that if he overcurls and takes the guard, it's not such a big deal. You just can't flare this one wide. Don, I don't think, is likely to do so. He's been around the block.
Peeling off the guard would certainly be a nice plan B on this. But it looks like plan A right now is in effect.
Yeah, he throws a nice control weight too. They ought to be able to do something with this roll if they can hit it in the right spot, although they're getting close enough to the guard that they may not roll at all. And that's exactly what we see.
Yeah, so pretty much a nose hit, just a slight roll to the center line. And Scimia, he's going to be looking for the same shot, although different color stones that Evo just had.
Right, and it doesn't put Ed in a strong steal position, but it at least beats Evo to the punch. And what it does is shrinks the scoring area. So now effectively, how's Evo going to generate a 2 with 4 rocks left, only using the 4-foot?
All right, sweepers on this one immediately here as Bykowski's shot definitely getting the attention of them.
And this one's really taken off on them, and I think they're on the guard.
Yes, they are, and they'll roll over, bounce the red stone. It might be a biter, a quick glance there, but now the opportunity here is switched over to the Petrov rink.
Very interesting signaling for a bump of his own and try to get behind that blue. He's talking about a back 4 weight. I mean, another thing is you could just directly draw. I think what he doesn't want to leave, though, is some sort of easy in-turn double for Bykowski. Bykowski really victimized us in the one end where we had 3 stones in the house. He made a really nice cross-house double in the 3-4 game on the long road that you've probably talked about for the Scimia team to get here.
Yeah, they've had a lot of games, 3 games today, finished 3-2 in the round robin, so they had to go through the tiebreakers and into the playoffs. So definitely getting their money's worth here this weekend. This one right here looks like it's going to be rolling just to the left. I don't think it's going to make any contact with the shot rock, and that may actually end up getting swept out by Ed Scimia.
Yeah, that run really just glid on him, you know, like big carry like you'd see in a Kitchener curling club.
All right, so Bykowski with another opportunity here to take out the shot rock. Now there's no guard up and top. So a clear shot this time around for Bykowski.
As long as he sticks around in the house, the force will be back on, and I'm sure Ed'll be pretty happy with that in this championship game. This is starting to go on him. No, it's
the swing's developing, but I think it's going to be nothing more than just a nose hit.
Right, and that was some sort of controlled down to board weight. It really didn't move for him.
Not seeing as much swing here so far in this game as we've seen earlier in the weekends, especially here on sheet C, where earlier, as soon as a stone got down to just kind of a slow traveling weight, you would see a hard bite to the side, and now they're still just running straight all the way to when they die.
And we played the very first game of the Playdowns on sheet C at noon on Thursday, and it was very similar. In fact, if you threw any kind of weight above hack board, things like this right here would happen. You'd just sort of hang out, maybe even lose ground as you went down the sheet. But now Ed has another chance to play offense.
So instructing Bykowski to set up at the middle of the 8-foot on the right-hand side. Again, Ed playing without hammer here, but with a 2-1 lead.
And so hopefully we'll see some of that snap you're talking about, because they're hoping for 5 feet of curl for a berry. I'm not sure that's really what's out there right now.
No, not with what we've seen so far here through the first 2.5 ends. But again, in high school, Ed, he was a chess player. He knows that strategy, and this is definitely coming into play here.
Oh, it may have something to do. I just realized Ed is left-handed, so maybe he thinks he rolls his in turn a little more than his out turn. This is everyone else's out turn.
That is true.
No, Ed's tactics, like he must get something. He teaches chess to children at Yale. It's like not as a Yale professor, I don't believe, but as part of some sort of youth program, and that can't hurt.
No, actually, Ed is he's a Syracuse grad, first of all, but he spends his profession is a freelance writer, so I don't believe he's part of the Yale teaching staff. But this is swinging in nicely. Wow, I say that it came to rest. I thought it had a little bit more legs than that.
But that's okay. If you're not going to get underneath, you may as well be in the 12 foot. Now how is Evo going to roll to a much stronger position? He probably can still be shot. I'm looking at a monitor here where dark blue stones on a purple 12 foot look like exactly the same thing, but You do want to leave that one high when you're not going to bury.
I don't know whether it's messaging or if it's...
All right, so Evo setting up here. Not a lot of ice given to him by DeYoung. And that stone is running pretty straight again.
No, it's bunch of
I have to believe Petrov is still shot now. No matter for Ed, though, without the hammer, he wasted absolutely no time in having Byko set this up for, take it out. The only thing he can't be is really, really wide. Ideally, he rolls on. Heads is on the way and it looks pretty good. Larry gave it a little attention. He backed right off. Like I said, all they can't be is real wide. I don't think they're that, but they want to get a little bit of a roll on. This is kind of a controlled down board weight, and that's perfect.
Yeah, so that ends up actually kind of splitting the house, although leaving it wide open for a draw here for Evo. However, just a draw for one. So hammer stone here in the third end. Evo just needs to find, work on his T-line weight here and find 8 foot. So you got to give the edge in this end here to Scimia again.
Yeah, he's really controlled it. Evo, I haven't seen any time where I thought he was comfortable and thought he was going to get 2. He was reacting the entire time. Arsenault with the clean.
And they'll bring it all the way in.
They seem pretty happy with it. Colburn is backed right off.
Yep. And that's going to come to rest just shy of the 4 foot. So 1 for the Petrov rink here in the third end as we tied it back up again, 2-2. Scimia will have the hammer in the fourth end. And certainly, as we just mentioned, looks like he's controlling the play here through the first 3 ends. But for Petrov, one of the things that they commented on is that they are a team. The famous "there is no I in team," and as a team they'll work together and try to pull this off. They have in the past, and a lot of confidence here going into this match.
That's 100% right. It's not even just about the championships they've won. Have you told the story of what happened to them last year? So in Boston, at this very same tournament, 17 teams signed up, which necessitated a triple knockout. And so Petrov found himself on Friday night at 8 p.m. in the C bracket, facing off against myself and some teammates from Rochester. He defeated us, which meant he would have to play at 8 a.m. the next day on Saturday. He won that game, which meant he had to play at noon on Saturday. He won that game, which meant he had to play at 4 p.m. on Saturday. He won that game, which meant he had to play at 8 p.m. on Saturday. 4 10-end games in one day, coming off a late night, won all 4, made it, I don't know if this puts him in the semis, but he plays again Sunday morning at 8 a.m. and loses.
Wow.
But he had 6 consecutive scheduled 10-end games and won 5 of them, facing elimination.
So definitely
with many of the same guys, with John and with Don. They had a different lead last year. His name was Bill Peskoff. But it was an incredible display of stamina. This is not a young team by any stretch. And they ground it out for days.
Well, they certainly know what it takes to win these big events. And
Yeah, there's no
going after
complaining these guys. There's no, oh, I got to play again. There's no, oh, it aches or hurts. They know what it takes to win.
And they come through with a takeout there. Scimia looks to respond back with another takeout with Eric Sebastian at the helm here of the stone. Final lead stone here in the fourth end. And the Scimia team lining up pretty nicely on this. Takes it out, will spill out both the shooter and the target rock. And so now Evo setting up here with just one guard in play on the center line. And looking for the draw behind here from Arsenault. Arsenault says one of the things he likes about the being a second is the variety of shots that he's called upon to make.
That's kind of an interesting statement. I feel like you'd say that more about a third. I mean, a third has to do absolutely everything. They've got to be able to peel, and they've got to be able to draw. And when they draw, it's often even harder than a skips draw because it has to be buried or it's garbage.
Mm-hmm. That's the point.
But here's the point about seconds. What I found out, I think, this weekend is that you need a second who can hit so you can play defense. But if you have a second who can draw, then you can play offense up and down the order. And that's what separates the top teams here from...
It's a real good point because so many times the seconds are looked upon as usually just being a takeout specialist.
All right, and I think the game's changed a lot. Your lead sets you up, especially in the 5-rock rule. If your second throws it out the back, you just gave the other team dictation, essentially.
And here's a chance for double takeout, and just a little bit off the mark is Skinny Larry, as you referred to him earlier, but definitely that's what he said he likes about being a second, again, is those takeouts.
Yeah, it's very satisfying to make a nice clean peel, double peel.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
All right, Arsenault with his second stone here, and this time looking for the guard. At least the one that Scimia just took out here with his second. This is going to drift a little farther to the left than I think they'd like. So now they're going to try to bring it in. But that's really set up for a double takeout. Certainly not what Evo wanted to see here.
No, I mean, this is as natural a double as it gets. They basically can't go through the gap. You could hit the first one a little too thick, but even if you do, you roll on top of the second, which is a nice place to be when you don't have the hammer. I don't see a negative to hitting it too thin. If you hit the first, or if you hit the deeper one first, you probably nestle in behind the red, which might not be optimal. They look fine. If they're sweeping it at all, they think they have at least the top one. And they're going to touch the second one. They're not going to get it all the way out. They're heading back up the sheet. And they're just not shot rock, but at least they're halfway under cover.
Yep, that's a good point. They able to use that guard that's sitting up there by the TSN.US logo. Try to get our website on any chance I can.
What I love about that logo, right where it is the perfect corner guard is almost on that little that transmitting house, as it were.
That's a good point. It's good for beginning curlers. This is where I want to put a corner guard. Here's your target.
It's good for depth. It's a little outside.
Yeah. All right, so Evo's first vice stone coming in now. Looks like it may just catch a little bit, a little roll back towards his other stone. And double takeout once again in play here for Ed Scimia.
Yeah, I think John was hoping that would work a little bit more. I mean, you see a lot of variety of handles at the club. Pretty much everybody out here has a real nice release. And that's going to keep it pretty controllable. That's going to cut down a little bit on the curl, and I think they were surprised by how much that didn't move. This is not the easiest double. It's easy to roll right across the top of the second one here.
That's a good point.
Or gear off it. They're not going to get a double at all here. They'll be lucky to get one.
Well, they may get a double from the opposite side. Nope. And then just the one as you called. All right, again, fourth end action underway here. 2-2 tie. GNCC Club Playdown Championship game. Winner goes on to Minnesota. The loser possibly, depending on what Alaska exercises their options, to join them out in Lakeville.
Petrov's given John two options here. He's talking about corner freezing on the top one and perhaps coming to T-line in front of the back one. I think he's much better off on the top one. If he gets down to the back one, I don't see why Ed doesn't clamp him in there. And again, what we were talking about earlier, this whole game is about shrinking and expanding the scoring area. And Evo will never expand it again if he gets too deep. He's not going to be behind his first one.
No, he's coming.
But now they're just trying to keep that line. Because they want to be shot when they get there, and I'm not sure they are.
No, from my angle, it looks like blue is sitting second and third. Red is shot, but back here at the 5:30 spot. And for Bykowski, this should be somewhat of a routine takeout here.
Yeah, I mean, this is something of a freebie. This is, again, Ed gets to dictate the action. But boy, this one's having a hard time getting over center. I think they're going to get a piece, which may be just good enough. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It came in just enough at the end. Again, the Stones running a lot straighter here than they have been for the rest of the week. I'm not sure what changed, but maybe the fact that the ice sat idle for a few hours.
It could have something to do with them being the only game. I don't understand all of the physics about that. I've played in ice sheets where there's 4 games going on and people start to shake and leave the shed and you're the only one out there. Now all of a sudden your draw comes up short. And I don't completely understand the science. It could have something to do with that. It could have something to do with the additional scrape after not having a game on sheet C during the last shift, I believe. So could depend on who the pebbler is. So many factors.
Mm-hmm.
Did you talk at all earlier about Dave Bykowski's road from Potomac to Nutmeg?
No, I did not.
Dave, the first time I played Dave was in Potomac about 5 years ago. He was he was the skip. And he had some of the folks that were here this weekend for Potomac. So he was actually there for 10 years. And then 3 or so years ago, maybe a little more, he headed up to Nutmeg. At the same time, Mike Kriz went down to Potomac. At the same time, I moved down to Potomac for a couple of years, or actually a year later. And then at the same time, Andy Eaton moved up here. So we like to refer to it as some sort of insane NBA 4-way trade. A 3-way trade involving 4 players.
And King James was not involved in this one at all.
No. Neither was ex-NFLers Jared Allen or Mark Bulger, who played in a cash spiel last weekend in Minnesota.
Well, certainly they always say the sport is expanding and bringing in all kinds of new fans and participants. So, all right, Ed Scimia getting ready for his first shot here of the fourth end, and back to takeouts. Certainly an opportunity here now coming up for him to really make this a big end.
I mean, oh boy, they're going hard to get a piece. They can afford to lose this. They'd really, really rather not, but I don't think they have it at all.
No, just a little narrow the whole way. Ed's smiling, but I think there's some disappointment behind that smile.
Yeah, that's pretty uncharacteristic of Ed. This is going to give Evo the opportunity to blast this, squirt that red back in for second, and put the force back on.
And maybe sweep up, clear up both of those blue. So for Petrov, this is his final stone here in the fourth end. Sales engineering specialist.
They've iced him pretty tight here, which is to say he either throws a really true takeout or they think he floats his intern. This isn't floated per se, and this has a lot of weight. They're right off the entire way. Now they're on, but they're on the push side. Don's trying to get it to move just a hair over. And they've at least put a second stone counting. I don't think the one that they were trying to squeak through there became third.
No, I agree there. It looks like Scimia stone is sitting third. So an opportunity here to, for it looks like just for one. It'd be tough to pull off 2 points for Scimia.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they have called a double here. One exists, but you have to hit it really thick and really hard.
And the opportunity for the jam over to the right-hand side definitely is in play.
It probably won't jam if you hit it thick enough, but you just need enough then momentum on a very flat roll to push that red one over the side about a foot. I'm just not sure that's what they're trying to do. I think they're really... They got to make sure they score.
Yeah, and the weight that they're coming down with, not really up weight.
And they look okay for that, I think, right? Oh.
Ooh, and a big roll. All right, so one for the Petrov rink.
Kind of a pair of unforced errors there for Ed. He floated one left-handed in-turn and kind of got a little light on the handle with the other.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic for Ed. Yeah, and this is his fourth play down, so he's been around a little bit in these, and he knows that if you make an error, somebody's going to capitalize on you. You know, the big thing that they were looking at coming into this game is the positive momentum that they've had so far today. You know, the front end has been pretty solid up till now, judging the weight. Look for more of that here in this game. But it just seems that the swing here on sheet C, a little bit different than it has been all week. And catching both teams, I think, off guard.
I mean, this lead stone from Colburn's going to get all the way across the center line.
And that's
well, as soon as I say that, it checks up and it basically splits it, but I don't believe they wanted to go in.
No. Opportunity here for a nose hit from Eric Sebastian, and be sitting just outside with the 5-guard free, the 5-zone free guard zone.
Eric is a player I'm actually not at all familiar with. I had not met him before today.
Oh, he's been curling now for 5 years, all of them out of Nutmeg. And nice take out there. Keeps himself in pretty good shape too, playing basketball and cycling, and actually he's done numerous century rides, the 100 miles.
Really?
So
that's strong. I think the most I've ever ridden a bicycle is 26 miles, which is a marathon if you're running, but it's just a regular bike ride if you're not. But that's interesting. So we have a 5 and under player also playing in the club Playdown. Have you encountered any others in any of the other games you called it this weekend?
Not that I recall. Skinny Larry also is a 5th-year player.
Is he really?
I'm not sure if he's done any of the Kaiser events, he was here for the Dykes. He did mention that he was up here. This is his 3rd time curling here in Rochester.
Well, that's really, really impressive. They must be getting a lot of good coaching from Jeff and Joel down there in Nutmeg. We had one 5th-year player, Eric Loy, on our team. Didn't really ask around to see if there were others, but it's really good when you can do that. You get a greater appreciation for how the game really works.
That's very true. And actually, talking with some folks from Nutmeg, they're kind of rated the top front end with Eric and Lawrence together. One of the best front ends you can find in the GNCC overall. All right, so Petrov now giving Don Arsenault take out call here. Early in the fifth end still.
So yeah, he's hoping to roll behind. He'll be in the back four, but that's not such a death sentence for the team without hammer. But again, this thing looks hot and outside. I mean, this thing is going to spill if it touches at all.
Yeah, it's going to come in, just give it a little kiss. So it does take it out, but not really the roll that they were looking for by any stretch.
No, and again, this is how Ed gets you. You're letting him play offense.
Just a reminder here, we are in the fifth end. There'll be a 5-minute fifth end break at the conclusion of this. Both teams will have a chance to kind of regroup, discuss strategies and where they are. But right now, a very, very tight match here in the championship game. And Lawrence's shot here. Still want to call him Lawrence. That's what he said to go with. Well, this looks like it's going to swing in behind. The question is, does it have enough to get fully buried depth-wise? And it does. Very, very nice shot there.
Sure does. The Scimia team all weekend, they're just not afraid to play really, really close to the guards. And you have to. I mean, you can't wreck, but clearing them by a lot just doesn't get it done at this level. They have a really good feel for how each other throw the stone, you know, when the break point and what it means.
All right, Arsenault with his final shot, looking to shake things up here. A high weight takeout, just to move things around, get rid of those guards up front. And
yeah, it's pretty nice. I wonder if they considered coming at that from the outturn side. I feel like if they had hit that high, a little more off the nose from the outturn side, they'd get a lot more rotation out of the shooter, and that might have gotten out of the way too. By coming across the nose with it, yeah, they still moved the two top stones. They left the other one sitting right there.
Maybe in a stone that they were thinking they could do have some opportunity with for later, but
I mean, in a way that's true, and Ed has the option here. I mean, this is the fourth stone to the end. He could put another one back in there and limit Evo's ability to do a straight run back and do too much damage with it.
Yeah, a little surprise here with the call to put one over to the side. The second came through, maybe just a touch light. Hard to tell.
I don't believe that outcounts the red.
Yeah, hard to tell here is the red stone there. It is sitting off at about the 9 o'clock position. Isn't on our monitor, so we don't have a real good feel for which one is sitting shot right now.
It looks from, you know, just eyeballing it that red stone's half on the house. It looks like the blue one's maybe a fifth biting, so. And it looks like Evo's going to do the run now as opposed to trying to come around with hack or board to hit the blue and get out of, you know, roll out of the middle. He really would like to control the center. And this thing has a long way to work.
This right here, I think it's just going to end up being a peel off of.
Oh, and what's worse is he bumped the blue on the way by, and I think put it in for second shot. Without the hammer, like that peel really wasn't ideal in the first place.
No, and as you mentioned, it came across, and from the overhead shot, it looks like now Bluestone is sitting full 12, and certainly from our angle, we can tell that the red isn't. So Scimia right now sitting 2, and an opportunity to put a third one in.
He's going all the way to the other side of the house with this on Bykowski's first. Another thing you might think to do is corner guard the one he's got in the 12-foot. I know that seems a little counterintuitive, but you know what would Petrov's other option be? He could hit shot stone and just roll wide open, or he could have to peel the guard. I mean, it would just give him a tougher decision. I realize, there's a reasonable amount of separation now on these three across the house, but there are doubles. There's doubles basically everywhere right now.
You're right. Right now, yeah. With this, he split the house, but that one sitting in the 4-foot, that double opportunity is definitely there. Scimia definitely on the offensive here. A lot of broom waving here by Evo as he's contemplating his options.
I mean, there's ways to hit and roll here, and this is, I think, what Evo settled on, where you make things dangerous for Ed. He'll have to be more precise with a hit. I'm not sure you can make a roll that's got to come across the nose of this stone, get close enough to the blue in the back that you can't just get rid of it, and roll your next shooter somewhere in the house for 3. As is, they're again floating. Again, they're outside of the nose. And that's not really a stone Ed has to worry about, I don't think.
No, not at all. If anything, it looks like he's going to want to replace that blue stone that just got taken out. Bykowski always says that he likes being a vice because if he can make the shot that's called for, he can make the final shot for his skip a lot easier.
Well, in the limited time I saw him, he certainly did. He completely ruined our best chance to score big points on these guys with a really nice cross-outs double.
All right, Sweeper's working on this one the whole way. Now they can come off just before the hog line.
Yeah, they really need to be careful. If this doesn't get out far enough, they are setting up Evo for something fairly simple.
All right, well, this one's going to make it all the way back to the tee line.
That's not bad. That's not super easy to make that out-turn double because you have to hit the first one so thin to drop into the second one and stay right there. I mean, you're talking about a fifth or a sixth of a rock. It's not natural where, you're going to automatically roll over there and stay put. You could very easily roll right across the top of that blue stone on the tee line. He might consider the problem with the other cross-house double is we can't see it on our monitor, and maybe they can't see it on the overhead on the broadcast, but there's a red stone a little bit above the tee line just off the screen to the left.
Way over at about the 9 o'clock position. And keep in mind, too, that so far for this end, it seems like, or for this game, both teams are struggling finding the line and finding the swing.
Especially on this out turn going away. And this was the case in the very first game of this tournament. We played again on this sheet, when? Against Mark Mooney at some point, maybe like 4 draws later. And it was a completely different sheet. You had a lot better movement coming in. Draws would snap, hack weight, and board weight would move like you'd expect them to, and at least control weight would run straight as opposed to dropping off. It looks like they're having a little bit of trouble. But if they're going up the middle here, as long as you stay between the 4-foot lines, I think they'll get the movement they expect.
The stone's coming in right now. It's going to hit with just a little bit of a roll to the right-hand side, but nothing of any significance.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. You had to hit that thinner than you would purposefully hit a peel in order to drop down low enough, get that accelerated spin on your shooter with that out turn to not just, you could take the blue out as well and roll right out of the house, but to stay put was a really, really tough shot. Mm-hmm. Reminiscent of what Rachel Holman needed in the 10th end 2 years ago in the Scotties against Michelle Englert to just stay alive and get to the extra. I mean, hit a 12th of a rock at missile speed, and it's not easy.
So Scimia here going for the takeout. Remember, with being a left-handed curler, a little bit different line here for where he's calling that broom.
Yeah, it's an in-turn. It's he doesn't have to cross the center line, which from some perspective helps you if you're a little bit of an overslider. I'm looking at his slider foot right now. His toe is pointed perfectly behind the rock. Ideally, for the benefit of your knees and hips, you want to kind of pronate that a little bit and point your toe to the outside. But I think in Ed's case, it helps him with that entire squareness I was talking about earlier in the shoulders, and it just helps him, go right at the target every single time.
Yeah, he really does have a beautiful delivery. Okay, so now at this point, down to final skip stones. Scimia with the hammer here. Evo, a lot of room tapping discussions here with John DeYoung.
Yeah, he thought about the tough over the nose double on the stone that's at the edge of the right 12 foot, but I think, and rightfully so, he's probably worried about how that will hang.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to nose it is not really to accomplish anything. So you got to make sure you get shot stone. He has a chance here. I think they're icing this such that he's going to throw a board weight or something to that effect. If he can get over the nose just a little bit, and I think that's kind of what John is envisioning right now. You know, he can get in behind that quasi corner guard that's on the house but not counting, and that'll make for a tough decision for Ed. Ed'll have a reasonably short run back if he does. Or no, he won't. They're both going to be red stones. He'll have to make a straight double with a jam on one side.
All right, Evo's shot on its way. Sweepers on it right away. Looks like they're going to... It's going to be real close on that top guard. It's going to be really close.
They've come right off. They don't have it. I think it's open drawing for 4 here.
Yeah, I think you're right, Bob.
Barely touch, like more than touch paint. Like he's got 11 feet 8 inches to work with here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, that red stone that we're seeing that I don't think you can pick up at home, that's certainly not much more than half. So, get the jitters down here for Ed. And don't get the eyes too wide. And Syracuse Orangeman here, opportunity to come out with a 6-3 lead as we head into the mid-game break.
He's iced it right up the middle, I think, because he knows it. Because he's thrown it a couple of times. I think he had Dave throw it. It's a little interesting. You don't have all those 11 feet 8 inches to work with anymore. The house gets smaller and smaller as you get closer.
Yep.
The front end doesn't seem to be startled. Larry and Eric are right off. They're just skating. They're hoping. They're staring at it.
Well, they also are looking, I think, to use the stone in the 8 foot as a backer if they need to.
And that's exactly it.
No consequence. So yeah, big 4-point end here for the Scimia rink to close out the first half of the championship game. All right, Bob, with your permission, let's take a 5-minute break here along with the teams.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Go get a cough drop. It's been a rough weekend.
And we'll be back. You're watching GNCC Club Playdowns live here on tsn.us. And we'll be back in 5 minutes with the second half.
I did that last.
And welcome back here to Rochester as we're getting ready to start the sixth end of the GNCC Club Playdowns. I'm Kevin Twitchell. Alongside me is Bob Williams with the color commentating, and we've got a great start here to the sixth end. We've got the Scimia rink on top, 6-3, and one of the things we were talking about is that with the fifth end, or the five guard. 5-stone free guard zone, there we go, that has been instituted this year throughout the world of curling, is that really it doesn't make a big difference in the game so much, but it does give a team that is down kind of the hope that they have an opportunity to get back into it.
Yeah, it definitely is more for the team with the hammer, right? Where a 3-point lead in the last end was pretty automatic at the elite level and the tour level, it's no longer so. At the club level, it gives a team an extra chance to get that corner guard up that they just accidentally threw into the house. Here, it almost always benefits the team with the hammer, not just necessarily the team coming from behind. The team who is ahead with the hammer is allowed to peel as they normally would with their second on his first stone.
And a little bit of a difference in the ice conditions from what we had in the fifth end to the sixth end, because the ice crew comes back out again.
Right, so they mop the ice, and that takes off, pretty uniformly takes the frost off of the entire sheet. As you saw, Ed was looking for something in the top of the house, and Eric probably threw it about the same as he's been throwing it all game, and it slid all the way to the back 8 foot. So it's something to think about. This one looks hot again as well. Dave's crouching over it. He doesn't want it. Larry's dancing. He doesn't want it either. And I don't think they should touch it because it looks like it's headed right on out the back. And that's just a function of the ice at this point, and everybody's got to readjust a little bit. They get out there and start breathing again, and a little frost forms, and it'll be back to what they're used to.
Yeah, and actually, Scimia, they swept that one out of the house. They didn't want that one sitting around for Petrov to be able to take advantage of. So Patty Colburn with his second stone here in the sixth end. Again, he was a last-minute fill-in here for the team. One of their other lead they were planning on. Situation came up, he couldn't make it, and got in here. He said that really for him coming in and playing with this team, his goal was just to make it into the playoffs, and here they are in the championship game. So.
Well, they weren't in the pool with us, so I didn't get a chance to see Pat play, but he's obviously done the job, right? You do not get to the championship without a lead who can get you there. If you're down in any game, you can't come back if you don't have a lead who can really put the rocks in the right spots and enable your second to play offense.
And you mentioned the pool play. Both these teams came out of the B pool, and Petrov came out with a round robin with a 4-1 record. Their only loss was their first game on Thursday to the Centawani.
That's kind of interesting. They both came out of the B. The B pool kind of had less tortuous schedules this weekend. They only had to do 5 round robin games as opposed to 6.
Yeah, there was 13 teams, and it doesn't divide up real evenly.
But that's not to say the Scimia rink's not killing themselves today. They had to win a first-round tiebreaker to get into a second-round tiebreaker, to get into the 3-4 game, to dispatch my team, and then knock off the defending champion and Benj Guzman from Broomstones in the semifinal to come here and play a 3-time champion in Petrov. So, they win this one. They've really earned it. They've really done something.
Yeah, and it will be a huge accomplishment for this relatively young team. Been together for really just 4 years and only 2 years with the Vice. So.
And a pair of guys have played for 5 years apiece. And that's really incredible.
Yes, it is.
It looks like Don's getting bit by the sixth end ice.
Well, again, it's adjustment of both teams, and the question now is who makes that adjustment first. That could be a big advantage heading into these later ends. All right, Laura's getting ready for his shot here in the sixth end, his second shot. Trying to draw around, put up some kind of a guard.
Every time you call him Lawrence, all I can think about is the French translation of Skinny Larry, which is Mince Laurent. I think we should start calling him Mince Laurent.
I'll let you have that one. And again, tough here with the coming up with the right weight.
Yeah. C'est trop vite pour Mance Laurent. A little too fast. He slides to the back 8. And, Evo's got something here, but, he doesn't have a big scoring area. If his way to generate 2 is to draw around centers with hammer, Ed's always going to have the option of clamping him in there, shrinking the area, forcing him to 1 with a as well placed draw or better. This looks like it's probably all the way down to the stones in the 8 foot.
I was thinking we're just in the back of the 4, and
boy, Evo really doesn't want to be there. He is just about in death zone. If you're with hammer, you can afford a rock in the back 8 because you might be, even if Ed were to come down to it, you could stack up a couple more and still have the button to work with. Ed puts this one in here, and how does Evo score at all?
Yeah, it's going to be real tough. Bykowski with a big opportunity here to kind of clamp this one right down.
Byko's another nice delivery. If you look at those shoulders, they're square in 2 directions. It's not just about one leading the other, but the height is right, which means he's got his hand on his broom in the right spot. Really nice form on a lot of these guys on Nutmeg.
Going to be a little on the inside here, as it's just going to rub up against the front guard and go off course. But
and even worse, he opened up the middle a little bit more for Petrov. He gave him a little bit more to work with. He can now half bury under his red and just bite the 4 foot and be second. Then things get tough for Ed. And if Ed starts to chase rather than clean up, Petrov just can keep, dropping rocks in and making it tougher for Ed to prevent a big number.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that 3-point lead that he's sitting on right now, that could quickly evaporate here.
It looked really great 30 seconds ago, but now John has a chance to put it on thin ice, like the ice here in Rochester.
Very gentle sweep coming down Don Arsenault. Very gentle, just a light clean, and that's a little deeper, I think, than Evo wanted, and opportunity is still there for Ed.
Yeah, that didn't completely do the job. Ed can come down with something like a back 8 and flop to there. Wow, Ed is like, it's like I'm in his ear. It's like we've curled the same amount of time or something like that. Yeah, I remember Ed was at the last Kaiser I played in. I remember Craig Doucette was with him, but the first time I really got a chance to meet him was last year. He brought a team to Rochester for the mixed regional. I think that, well, that may be what he asked for, but that was an awful lot of weight for that situation.
Yeah, it was a little surprising how much that had carrying down in here.
I'm not sure a double takeout was what they needed. They needed position underneath that guard. They really, in fact, not only did they not change much, they expanded the scoring area for Evo. If Evo gets over the nose here, now it's more than just the 4 foot. Half the 8 foot's back in play. John's going to try and be a little more delicate with this one, although it has plenty on it.
It looks like it's awful wide right now, too, for the amount of swing we've been seeing here.
They're waiting for it to snap. It's half over that TV line now.
Starting to come.
It's got to get a little bit more, though.
Yeah, it's going to have a little roll to the inside. And
that is pretty good. He's protected the top of the button now. He's at least half buried under that guard. I mean, Ed can come in and try to get rid of it, but I imagine at best he still spills out to the 8 foot, and Evo's going to still have the full 4 to work with.
Well, it might be a 2-rock approach. First one, try to peel off that top one and hope Evo doesn't cover it back up again and come in and draw 2.
Yeah, 2-rock approaches. Like, I always have that thought in my mind when our rocks come in, and I say, oh, that's not that bad. We can use that later. Well, the problem is the other team gets to throw in between.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah, no, it's totally not fair. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this time, and then next time we're going to push it in a little further, but no, it turns out they get their chance. And
their strategy was not to help your strategy.
Yeah.
All right, well, Ed Scimia, his first skip stone here. Again, nice smooth release. Sweepers want to jump in.
Yeah, Larry
Kowski's
really
holding
wants
them
it,
off.
but something I learned out here on this ice, especially on sheet C, when you want to go, it means you really shouldn't. Like, you have to almost think it's too late, then it's time to actually go. And you'll still get it there. It's really sweepable ice out here.
So I'd say right now, tough because I don't have the overhead angle in front of me, but that looks like blue is sitting second.
Yeah, I believe so. It looks like 3/4 of that blue is on the forefoot. I still think what Evo's discussing with John right now seems about right. He can still come in here with about hack weight. He can still get that blue into the back corner and get the red over. Even if he moves his red 6 to 8 inches, who cares, right? He still sits 3. Ed make another superlative draw. I mean, how many times can one corner freeze in the forefoot? Evo's playing the percentages here. If he makes a nice one, he's still in really good shape.
Yeah, it's always one of the scariest things as a curler. That was a great shot. Do it again. And,
Sure.
that might be the command.
Hardest shot in curling is the same one you just threw.
Exactly. All right, so Petrov, again, Plainfield rink, looking for a chance to go back once again to the Nationals. Was there in 2011, 2012, and 2013. Top 4 of the last 4 years. And in the championship match here today.
Throwing a really quiet weight here, which is about right. And John thinks they got to go because they kind of crested, just touching that outside forefoot line. This is all over. Probably the red, maybe even the blue.
Yeah, they're going to wreck high on that blue one. Just a little kiss right there, and
They need to get this out of the way as best they can. At least
that's
put it in
gonna-
a position where it can be raised.
what does it do right at the end? It death spirals back in on them. So now for Scimia, I'd say at this point you're looking to just let him take the one here.
Absolutely. Take a force and have the hammer with a 2-point lead. You can basically guard 2 runbacks with 1 rock here.
Yeah, and that's I think what Bykowski right now is proposing.
Chief umpire Mike Hahn has weighed in. He's not 100% sure that the red isn't sitting 2.
We'll know if they give the signal for him to come out and do the measure.
That's right. He'll be the one who gets the final say. It's the one thing he has this weekend. We let him have that.
A lot of time here being used by the Scimia rink. However, looking at the clock, they still have over 19 and a half minutes, whereas the Petrov rink just under 18 minutes right now. So neither team, the clock being an issue for either team here.
Did you see the timing that they used in the Canada Cup this weekend concurrently with our event?
No, I haven't had a chance to check that out.
I really liked it. So how it worked was in ends 1 through 6, each team had 4 minutes of thinking time. In ends 7 through 10, you had 4 minutes and 15 seconds. So you couldn't be disqualified from the game because you ran out of overall time, but it encourages you to get through every end in a reasonable amount of time. And the penalty for not getting through your end by end time is that you just can't throw any more rocks that end. The other team could, in theory, throw 2 consecutively, maybe. But it's not a death penalty, and I think it still accomplishes the same thing. So I'd be totally in favor of that sort of a system.
Something new that the USCA might be looking into.
Well, Ed is definitely not trying to guard a run back here.
No, it's kind of interesting putting a stone over here on this side, not where I was expecting to see them lining up.
Well, let's see. Is he guarding the intern side run back? With that ice, it looked like he was trying to throw a draw because it was a lot of ice. I feel like maybe they were trying to guard that one, That just was a long way for it to come back. They probably did. They probably took the angle that Petrov needs out of that one away.
I would agree.
But I think he left the more useful one on in the 4-foot lane on the left as we're looking at it from behind the skip's view.
Yeah, I thought that would have been the higher percentage shot, but
And Evo's looking at the stones like he can't decide if he's sitting too and should just put this one in the wall or not.
if he can figure out a way to get rid of that blue stone at the top of the 4-foot, there is an opportunity for 3 in a tie game here. A lot of discussion going on.
Yeah, so maybe the reason Ed didn't drive that, the one I'm talking about in, is for Evo to use it to dislodge blue off the 4 almost guarantees that it won't stay in the 4 itself. You know, it would bounce out. And so Ed was like, well, let him play dangerously with that one. Now it looks like Evo's going to run blue to red. He's going to do a slash. If he slashes the first one at the right angle, the second one almost has to go right at that blue sitting in the 4-foot and hit it thick.
Mm-hmm. It definitely looks like there's a straight line right there. Mike Hahn already out on the ice in case of the measure. And here's Evo's shot underway. And right away the sweepers are on it, trying to hold that line. Comes in, is going to get the blue into red, and just sails across the top of the blue. Didn't miss by much.
So he must have hit the top stone a hair too thick.
So the decision, they already knew how many there were out there, and no measure called for. Either way, red will have the first stone here this end. Scimia will have the hammer. Question is whether he has a 2-point lead or a 1-point lead. Again, reminder that the winner of the event today will go on to Lakeville, Minnesota. Nationals are March 9th through the 16th. For folks that might be just joining in right now, expecting to see an 8 o'clock start time here, because of the travel distances for both teams, they agreed that they'd like to get the game underway a bit earlier, so we went green flag, as it were, back at 6:30.
I have a tip from a viewer that says we're going to see 1 go up on the scoreboard for red here in a second. He said the ESN overhead cam was pretty conclusive.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Again, we don't have the overhead cam view at the near end, just the far end.
And isn't that ironic?
Yeah, it kind of is.
We're sitting about 15 to 20 feet from the spot, and we really can't tell.
Appreciate the feedback from the folks watching, and hopefully you're enjoying our coverage here on TESN.us. Bob Williams, Kevin Twitchell calling the action here this evening. And there's the one as the viewer expected to see. As Scimia has his first stone here in the 7th end. Bob, if you're Ed Scimia, what do you do at this point? Do you keep with the same strategy? Do you try to change things up?
He looks like he's playing a little conservatively here. I'm pretty sure he called for the sins, which says he's happy to get 1 and trade 1s for the whole rest of the game. Boy, I would like a little bit bigger lead than that to start doing this. It reminds me of what we did in our tiebreak game against Charlotte, but we were ahead by a lot more, and we were very happy to let them keep stealing 1s, and we'd retain the hammer and run the clock out on them. I think Ed kind of he was kind of caught in between there. That guard for Petrov wasn't wonderful. It's a little over center, and it's a little tight to the house, so it'll be really hard to bury anything completely behind it. That remains above the tee line. So I think Ed said, well, you know, that's not super useful. If I go in here on the side, can he afford to hit me at this point in the game? Like, I think Evo is probably thinking, I may need to steal out. I may need to steal 4 ends in a row to win this game.
Well, and the ironic thing is, too, when you look at the scoreboard, Petrov has actually scored 4 ends to Scimia's 2, but Again, when you have a 4-point end and a 2-point end, everything so far for Petrov has been singles. So.
And again, a less than ideal guard for Plainfield. That one just didn't bend. It just hung out there on the intern side. And so now they've got like a really odd stagger, and Ed is doing absolutely the right thing here. He can draw behind essentially what's a weak corner guard.
Yes.
However, this one also there has very little chance of bearing and looks short itself. So maybe they got 6th end ice in their head. Now we're in 7th end ice.
Well, certainly I think that it's safe to say both teams just really struggling to figure out the weight here ever since the 5-minute break after the 5th end. It changed, and it's a puzzle as to what the ice is doing. And I'm not even seeing, Bob, any difference lane to lane. It seems to be overall.
Yeah, that's really true. I mean, the mop is going to cover the whole sheet. And I think we didn't have a whole lot of problem with stones out on the outside. A lot of club curlers say, oh, we got it out in the frost. Well, that hasn't been a real big issue here. The weather here has been pretty perfect. It's been in the high 20s for outdoors for most of this tournament. Our block walls are not supremely insulated, and we don't have a great dehumidifier. Whereas down at Potomac, they basically couldn't play in October or April if they didn't have a dehumidifier, supreme dehumidifier. But we're getting the natural one this weekend. It's probably why my sinuses have been killing me throughout all the games. But I think it's making for really good curling conditions that make the entire sheet in play and fair.
All right, it was a nice stone there by Petrov as he's coming in with a 4-foot biter. Larry for the Scimia rink hit and takes that one out. Nice promote takeout. Big sigh of relief there from Skinny Larry, and he acknowledges that towards the crowd. All right, so Arsenault looking to put that stone right back in. A little bit of a guard out there on the TV line on the left-hand side. And this one right here, I'd say, is probably the closest I'm seeing to finding the draw weight so far since the break.
Yeah, Don has it down, and it's snapping, but they gave a lot of ice to be conservative because they had to get around something on the 4-foot line, and you use a certain rule of thumb. The curl's never going to be as much as when you're throwing between the 4-foot lines just because of the physics of the way you release. But back to your point about the sheets and the entire width of the sheets, I think to praise the ice crew a little bit more this weekend, there has not been any sort of wall effect that a lot of curlers know, especially these folks from Plainfield who have no choice but to play on the wall sheet every night. We're getting really nice curl off the walls on sheet A and D. It's a testament to the process and the rigorousness of our scraping patterns and our processes here in Rochester that have made it really consistent and really good, even if you're not on what a lot of clubs call their better sheets, their inside sheets. I mean, we have a walkway that you can probably see on the broadcast that runs down the center anyway, so everything is a boundary sheet in one way or another here, but that's not to say there's sloped sheets where you're just not going to come off this wall or that wall. This is pretty good ice fit for a regional championship like this.
And to piggyback on your compliments for the ice crew here, over and over all week long, every team I've spoken with, same thing over. I'm hearing great ice, consistent ice, fast ice. We're loving it. So really a great job to everyone on the Rochester club, Clark Raven, Jeff Pulley, Bob Feathergill, Mark Healy. I've just seen a lot of our club members out there. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few, but they all did a great job here all weekend prepping this ice and giving these curlers ice that they really, really can enjoy playing on. All right, so Dave Bykowski now looking to get rid of this high guard that everybody's been trying to work with.
Yeah, and it looks like Ed is finally ready to play classic defense. they're going to go over the nose on this one and get it the hard way. They're going to get it nonetheless, and they're going to avoid everything as they roll across. But Evo's starting to sit a few here, and Ed wanted to make sure on his last he had at least half a sheet to look at. He may not have the outturn half with that red sitting in that alley where it is, and that's been there since the very first stone of the end. It's kind of remarkable.
That's true. That was stone number 1.
And as I say that, Evo starts saying, maybe we'll bounce off of this one and roll in. But I think he's going to leave it alone because I think you and I both want to see that stone stay there a little longer. The event chair has signaled her desire to see that stone stay there as long as possible.
Doing everything I can not to laugh on air at her call over there. All right, well, both sweepers working hard here on the Petrov rink as they're trying to bring this stone in. This one's swinging a little bit more than they were looking for, and may get a little bit of a bounce at the end off that one stone, but I think it's just going to come up and sit right on it.
And it didn't move it. It is still exactly where it was before.
Yeah, that was definitely a wasted stone for the Plainfield rink here. And now Scimia looking to peel off one of the ones that's sitting shot.
He can even use this to roll into the 4-foot. Put the steel back on if Dave really hits this exactly right. They're icing this, I don't know what terminology they use, but some kind of control down, some kind of 10 and a half hog-to-hog time. Dave's thrown it pretty solid. But they're on it immediately, so it's probably good he gave it that weight.
Might be a bit narrow. They're having a hard time holding that line.
Yeah, they're not going to keep it in play. Oh. Yeah.
Oh, they get the peel.
But now Evo has a draw behind staggered guards, which Ed'll never be able to run in. Shout out to Mark Robinson in Pittsburgh, who just asked if it's me doing the color commentary. It is indeed. Wish you were up here for this, Mark. Wish you and Brian Stewart would throw another team together and we'd see you at Playdown.
In Pittsburgh, do they have dedicated ice down there now?
Almost. They, I believe, are coming again for the friendly this year. I've promised them now for a number of years I will be at the first one down there for sure.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. They've been a great club. They've been coming up for a number of years here to Rochester, and all those years of curling on arena ice down there, they would come up here and just drool on our ice. Oh, Don Arsenault fell there, didn't burn the stone, hops right back up. A bit of a scare here for everyone in the club.
The draw itself, pretty heavy, but I think we're going to have a second here to make sure Don's okay.
It looks
Don's a soldier.
Smiling. Maybe a little bit of pride hurt there, but...
Oh, I know all about that. I tripped over a stone in the dead zone, that stupid area outside of the 12-foot and the...
Yep.
I don't even know how to describe it. Near between the back line and the boundary line. What's a stone doing there anyway? Totally dove over one against Guzman on Friday.
All those are back there is just trip hazards. But getting back to Pittsburgh for a second, great to see them. Great to see them finally putting together and getting that dedicated ice. The folks down there, they really deserve that, and kudos to that club for making it happen.
Yeah, with that draw going all the way to the back 12, now Ed has his chance to play offense.
And again, this is his first skip stone. Again, Scimia with the hammer here. And a 2-point lead in the 7th end. Both sweepers took a quick glance at their stopwatches, neither jump on it.
Yeah, Larry's trailing the rock by a couple feet, which is never a good sign. They don't want this at all, which I don't even think it's going to curl to the rock that Evo just threw.
It's got a ways to go, but actually it's starting to die here, and it comes to rest just in the back of the 4-foot. Excuse me. However, I think it's a pretty clear shot for Evo. Those didn't get bury enough behind those guards looking at the overhead camera.
Right, Don's pointing out some drag effect on these stones up here in the alley. Evo can hit that whole construction as if it was one rock, and the second rock will basically go in the direction of the hit. So say he were to throw an out turn and hit it on the right side. But I think he's kind of shaking off that suggestion. He's going for this draw. To get those rocks in a back 12-foot in play, he's got to throw a hack weight. I don't think he wants to, because if he were to nose that back there, he's sit and duck for another similar ed draw that kills his ability to get two. So I think he's going to try to come in here and get full top four. Ed may put the force on immediately, but if he can't, then Evo does have a chance for two just on a pair of skip draws.
Yeah, and that's what he has to be careful to guard against here.
Yeah, this has got to be just top four. Just barely outcount the blue that's half on the back four. Any more than that really compromises his ability to get two.
Well, looks like he's coming on. He's going to be fully on that blue stone.
They are essentially doing the hack weight play. I don't believe they've pushed the blue far enough to sit 1-2, and now they've given Ed the draw to the button and almost the automatic steal.
No, again, Ed has.
Oh.
Ed again has hammer.
Okay.
Here. So I think for Scimia, if he can come in, hit Evo's stone, all he has to do is drive it solidly into the 12-foot. Ed can come away here with another two.
Yeah, you're working with a fundamentally flawed color commentator here, who's seen a bit too much curling this weekend.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's I'm glad you stopped by. You've spent a lot of time here this weekend, my friend.
So honestly, that was a pretty decent shot for Evo. He got under enough cover to make this tough. This is not a gimme draw for one even.
And it looks like with the weight that they're coming in with right now.
The line is pretty good, though. Like, even if the weight's a touch heavy, it doesn't matter. They can't spin off too much, and they won't.
Yeah, Ed's going to be coming out of here with just the one, which isn't a horrible result.
I think Ed should be really happy with that. I think this got mixed up a little more than he was hoping for. I think Petrov did his best to steal, but knowing that he is going to need to steal a lot of ends. Force is not terrible here.
No.
Petrov will control the even ends, but that's usually a trope when you're tied or close to tied. When you're down 3, you've got to put a lot on here in the 8th. You really almost need to tie it up now and then start doing the trading of forces and getting your 2s.
Yeah, the ends are starting to wind down here.
Yep, Mark Robinson has confirmed that the ice in Pittsburgh will be dedicated next season, barring any unforeseen issues.
Wonderful
Which
news.
elicits another cheer from the gallery in Rochester. And Eric Lloyd chimes in and says, "I think you've lost track of Hammer." Which, all I can say to that is, at least I knew who had Hammer when we were playing this weekend.
All right, well, here we go with the 8th end underway. And Scimia putting up a guard that's going to drift all the way in. So, aggressive first stone. Petrov just wants to put a guard out front. Ignore that one for the moment. And for Bob, I'll just reinforce that Petrov has hammer this time.
Right. And so Ed would have liked to have been a little more centered and been in the 4-foot, but that's not bad. You know, any stone that's in and above the tee that's not just 12-foot is guardable and could make Petrov waste stones using peels. I mean, this coming up short could be devastating for Evo.
Yeah, Patty's stone is way out there, and it does make it across, but it's way up in zone 1. Just coming to rest just shy of the TESN.US logo. Not quite where he wanted it. It's in play, but a little more than that can be said about that stone.
Yeah, that's a corner guard. I mean, Ed's calling for another one, top 4, and I think I'm correct this time, he doesn't have the hammer, so that's good. I almost said, oh, he should just draw behind that corner guard, but no. I mean, Evo can use that. He's going to need cover at some point. It's just interesting. I can't imagine if he was throwing an intern that he expected to end up as a corner guard.
And the Supers are going to bring this one almost parallel with their first stone. And you got to think Evo, yeah, he's looking at getting them both out of here right now. 2-for-1 specials on board.
Oh, he's calling. He was talking about a freeze into that pocket. Now he's talking about drawing the red. He actually has 3 options. The freeze is interesting. I like what he's doing here. He's being patient. He's getting his one under cover if he can get it there. His other option would be to hit that top blue and roll under cover, and then that's one less you're going to have to hit later. This is textbook to draw behind this corner guard, but it pretty much means someone on his team will have to make a double takeout in order for him to get a 2 this end.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of ice he gave. Ooh, a foot over the center line, and it just really didn't get back.
Again, continuing to struggle with the weight here in the second half of this game. It's starting to really bite them. In the Scimia rink, they seem to be figuring out the weight, which definitely is going to be to their advantage.
Yeah, they've readjusted, and now, it's almost a problem of what do? I have 6 more rocks. He's going to have Larry put another one in the same general area and say, okay, Evo, make a triple or a quad at some point to get your 2.
And looking at the weight of this one right now, this one looks like it's going to be, like you said, right in the same zone, another top 12 type of stone. Maybe a bit of a bump back on the one on the center line, but not much of any real consequence.
It's not bad. I mean, Evo, yeah, I think he's doing the right thing here. He's not going to get them all. There's no triple there that I see. But to get at least 1, maybe 2, and roll under the guard would be a premium shot here. Really high-end shot for Don.
Arsenault with the opportunity here.
They're going. It's interesting the way they've got their sweepers set up. They're almost in a push position. And they're only going to get 1 because they hit that a little too thin. They're going to roll right out. They didn't accomplish really any of the objectives they were looking for.
No, that was not at all what they were expecting from that result.
Now with these things even, Ed can tap one back, and he's gonna. Ed is not afraid to put the foot on the gas. I think he sees a way to score here rather than play defense. Throwing into the 4 is a defensive maneuver in the first place, but presented with this opportunity, why not better your position and make them start thinking, how are we going to get anything here, let alone 2?
Very, very light stone. Rykowski on it right away. Or Bykowski on it right away.
He's just cleaning at this point. He's tending to it. These kind of shots are finely crafted. Really didn't have the weight I think Ed was hoping for, but they probably had to wait on it. If he, comes in and rubs that first one first, they don't promote anything anywhere in a useful position. This cluster again is it tripleable? It is.
I agree.
Yeah, I think you hit the nose of this. I think you get all 3. But I'm not 100% sure what that does for Evo in terms of winning the game, because it leaves a sitting duck for Byko's next.
Arsenault's shot is on the way. They're definitely working on it. It's starting to swing a little bit more towards the right.
Yeah, and they're not going to get the nose this time
either.
either.
And it may catch that front guard. Just clears it. And, again, only 1 stone taken out. And now for Scimia, you got an opportunity maybe to come in. Well, he's looking to put a guard up on the center line. I was thinking maybe an opportunity to tap over behind those other guards.
Well, he's in the 4 foot. Tapping that in behind better cover gives Evo a bigger draw lane. With that red that's in the 4-foot lane on the right side, he doesn't even need to get all the way to the center line. Like, he can just have the edge of this rock touching the center line, and he's guarding almost 2 feet of real estate out there and cutting down a little bit of the draw path.
Sweepers both took a look at their stopwatches and jumped on this one.
Yeah, and I think they need to go on this for line more than anything else. They may consider just letting it fall out, or just get to the edge of the center line, and this is a beauty. No, guys.
Yeah, I don't think he could have walked down and set that stone in a better spot.
I mean, a guard that leaves an 11-inch gap between stones is as good as a guard right in front of what you're trying to guard, right? There's no...
the path isn't there.
There's no variability to the rocks here in Rochester. We actually, last weekend in Toronto, played a spiel at the East York Curling Club, which is probably my favorite place to curl, and they are in the process of buying new rocks for next season, but this year on their sheet 1, they have 2 rocks, the number 1 stones for each color on that sheet, and those stones are smaller in diameter and taller than all of the rest of the stones on the sheet. But that little anecdote got in the way of a huge run back.
Yeah, I was going to say, great shot here for the Petrov rink as the double takeout, and sitting 1 now that Ed Scimia is going to be looking at, looks like he's going to try to do a promote of the one on the front, do the takeout.
Dave Bykowski says,
Beautiful.
You make a run back, I'll make a run back. This is championship curling, folks.
And the native of Irmo, South Carolina, came through big on that one. Again, he's the one that said that I asked him what his favorite shot is. He said he liked to just be able to nail the shot that the skip is calling for him and try to guarantee the big ends and make the skip's job easier. And really, you can't ask for anything more from a vice than that.
No, I mean that was right out of the Brad Jacobs Ryan Fry playbook. Bykowski, really clean line, a real reasonable amount of ice, and they just line it up and they do it. It's not certainly not the first time it's happened this weekend.
Should have asked him if he learned those techniques in Potomac or if that was something that he learned up in Nutmeg. A great shot coming in. Doesn't take out the blue, but certainly moves it out from under any kind of cover.
It does, but they're reasonably exposed on the intern side for Ed. Oh, the outturn side for Ed. Correct. Ed being the only lefty here on the sheet.
Certainly does put a different wrinkle when your skip is a lefty compared to other teams maybe you play against.
Well, it changes things a little bit in terms of which side of a rock you want to half bury on, right? Ed has to come all the way out around that guard that's outside of the 4-foot line. It may look like it's completely exposed to us, but from his vantage point in the hack, it may be less so than just the vertical view would indicate. A right-hander would have zero problem with this shot. Ed'll probably have no problem either.
And very, very smooth delivery from Scimia. No action from the sweepers yet.
Yeah. And there it is, about
fall,
sliding across the center line. It's a different look for a left-hander than a right-hander. And you can get your slider foot going a little early, then you're fighting your own foot to stay balanced. And you have almost no choice but to be wide. We have a viewer in Vienna, Virginia right now, an ex-teammate of Dave Bykowski from Potomac, who claims that Byko didn't make so many of those runbacks back when they played together. But I don't know. I think he, I think the proof that Bykowski is standing here behind the house in the championship game, and the guy who is commenting on his ability is back home already.
All right, so Petrov now going after the Scimia stone on the left-hand side of the house here, and that's diving pretty fast. This might. Oh, it does catch enough of it, and right over to the button. So Scimia, do you go after the shot you just went after, or do you go after the one at the button?
Well, you have to go after shot stone, and I think this might actually help him a little bit as a left-hander, because this thing can crest a little later, you know, and then run straight up the sheet. Whereas if this was in the same alley on the intern side, you always have to worry about it hitting the center line and diving on you, because you're already sliding, you know, toward the outside of the sheet, as it were. Like you've already sent the rock. It's not curling there so much as you've already sent it in that direction.
Bykowski already down low to look at this line. Be able to see as soon as the swing starts to develop.
This
Final
looks like
stone
it's
here for Scimia.
tracking a little bit on them again. It looks like they're on the red outside guard.
That's going to just clip, yep. Just clip the top guard. So big opportunity here for Petrov. Sitting two. And I don't think he realizes it's... now he does. Now he realizes it's hammer.
This is exactly what we talked about at the beginning of this end. It was, you know, force wasn't super ideal. Better make your three here. But now Petrov has regained the hammer management advantage.
Mm-hmm. And if nothing else, too, maybe just a little bit of a boost for his team that, hey, we were right back into this, and you know, maybe for Scimia, be a little bit careful that this doesn't become a big letdown for them.
Yeah, when you start to get too careful, right? Now it's like, oh, all we got to do is this. We just got to hold him to this, or we just have to do that. And you stop being yourself. You stop attacking. Yep. The Scimia team got here by just attacking us, attacking Guzman in the semifinal. They have to at this point. They really have no choice. The ninth end, if they don't get at least a 2, you're not going to be able to play defense with a 1-point lead. No. They'll have to go hard for a steal in the 10th anyway. So Ed basically has no choice but to play offense all the way out. Same can be said of Evo, really.
So here we are through 8 ends. It's a 0-0 game, essentially.
Right. I mean, why did they waste all this time and all this effort? Poor Don fell down out there. They could have just said, you know, we'll just play 2.
Again, what's at stake here is a trip to Lakeville, Minnesota for the Nationals, March 9th and 16th.
Skinny Larry does not look discouraged whatsoever. The team still looks like they're in high spirits.
Well, one of the things that I was talking to Ed, that they like to lift each other up, and they act as cheerleaders for each other. It's a really good team chemistry that they have. And the other thing, too, is that everybody on this team, they accept their roles. They all know what to do. They all know whose it is. And a draw in here, and Scimia looking to go right after right away. Bob seems a little dangerous.
Yeah, well, it's just curious. I mean, Ed, I don't think Evo is going to steal with a biter. I really think Ed needs to put the corner guard up here and generate points.
Well, a stone from Eric Sebastian here.
Because now this rolls in. And
now that rolls over as a biter as well.
And Evo doesn't mind hitting it.
I try to get into a takeout game.
Sure.
Limit Scimia to 1, and then with hammer you have the 10th end.
Well, I guess so. Here's the other school of thought. Ed could be thinking he's going to run this all the way out to a blank. The problem here is as soon as these stones start to stack up and they get out of the house, the blank is not an option anymore.
And a big miss there for Patty Coburn. That kind of maybe changes the complexity, changes the strategy here that Ed might be looking at. But yeah, interesting thought. I hadn't considered the fact going for the blank end and carry the hammer into the 10th end. All right, Eric Sebastian's final stone here in the 9th end. That looks like it's got a little more weight. Always tough, even at after playing all weekend, to go from a takeout to a draw. And Petrov will get that one through the house.
And now Petrov's gonna try to do again what with Don, what Pat was unable to do. And I guess my point stands here now. If this thing gets out of the house, I don't see how there's a blank. It was just so early in the end to start thinking about, if I hit something on the 12-foot, I'm going to ride this out and blank the whole thing. Eventually somebody's going to have to draw behind one of these.
There'll be a hit, a little bit of a roll to the right-hand side, and essentially where that first stone was.
I'm going to be made to look extremely foolish when all of these hits roll a little bit into the house and they, just run up and down the sheet here.
And Larry with his shot. Sweeper's on it immediately, and that's lining up pretty good for... that's really looking like the first true nose hit.
All right, now we have a real guard, and I have to imagine Evo's going to draw behind it.
But the 5-stone rule has already come and gone, so... I asked Don Arsenault how did he get hooked on curling or first learn about it. He said he grew up in very, very northern Maine. The only stations they could pick up there were Canadian stations, so he got to watch it on CBC. Similar story for Bykowski. He saw it on CBC as he was going to school over in Michigan. I got to say the same for myself in northern New York. Picking it up on CBC, and that one right there is just going to sail right through. So Scimia now with a chance to put a second blue stone in the house.
Well, that is a decision now. If he really, really wants that blank, he just peels his own. But now he's thinking split onto the house.
Yeah, because that one stone right now not in a scoring position. And Larry. So it might be a little narrow.
Yeah, these are tricky. It's always really easy to leave one outside, usually the shooter. Yeah, generally I guess that's close enough to split on, but you have to hit them reasonably thin.
That's carrying a lot of weight, so that's going to end up back behind the tee line. That might be something that...
oh, but it's not something Petrov can just ignore.
No. The question is, can he use it to his advantage? Right now,
He's thinking, am I playing offense or defense here? I thought his plan was to force. I think he's got to hit it.
All right, so John DeYoung, CPA out of West Orange, New Jersey. Call for the takeout.
And now I think this C out-turn side float is going to benefit Petrov massively. I mean, they totally lined that up to throw it just inside the broom and let it work its way out, and it got out there really nicely.
Yeah, that one had good line the whole way, and I think the teams are starting to figure out how the ice is behaving once again. As Bykowski will look to do the same shot.
I mean, I think the difference here is Bykowski, well, he does need to stay around. If he doesn't stay around, Petrov can draw.
Sweepers aren't even thinking about touching that one.
No, and this one's still working.
And that's going to hit and it's going to spill out. So, house is now clean.
And Evo wastes no time. He's going to the draw. That's a little riff on a Major League quote. He's wasting no time. He's going to the Duke.
You're going to have Wild Thing come in too later on?
Wild Thing hasn't had a lot of success against these guys, but I've got a hunch he's due.
Vaughn Miller. And you know what? This one's starting to swing quite a bit. It may not get by that front guard.
No, and again, I can't help but remark on the way Pat and Don are set up as sweepers. Don being closest to the rock on the push stroke. You know, if you subscribe to directional sweeping theory, he helped that one wreck there.
A lot of teams in the GNCC live and die by that mantra these days.
Yeah, I really believe there's something to it. I don't know how I feel about scratch theory on the pebble, which is where it comes from, but it makes a lot of intuitive sense in terms of resisting curl. I think with these broom pads, which are the WCF approved broom pads, at any weight above board, you are never going to make a rock curl more. And you're never really trying to make a rock curl more by pushing it in the first place. You're already on a certain trajectory, and you're just letting your push stroke player finish it in behind the guard, which is to say, keep it moving. You know, we like to think we have as much control over this as possible.
All right, Bykowski, he's looking just for a straight-out takeout. Hit to the side and actually does the double there. Not so sure that the double was quite the call, but that's what the end result was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that was the original call, but all it does is give Evo another crack at this draw.
All right, so we are in first skip rocks here in the ninth end. Scimia with the hammer. This is a team that they played earlier in the match, or earlier this weekend rather. Ended up a 10-6 win for Petrov over Scimia. It was back on Friday afternoon. Petrov had a lot of respect for the Scimia rink, saying that he's seeing consistent improvement from them every time they play them in their technique, strategy, just all around their tactics.
This one has a lot more clearance, so any amount of sweeping technique isn't going to hurt it. They just really need it to slow down.
Yeah, this is going to end up in the back of the house.
Oh, but you know what? Now we're talking about 10-end games and practices, right? So I think that thing got the sliding path. It's now the ninth end. Most of these curling club players, you're used to playing your 8-end game. There was not 9 minutes of rocks running over it beforehand. We're essentially in the 11th end of rock tossing, if not more. So the areas, especially since most players are right-handers, when you get near that center line, in line with the hack, you're going to have some fudge ups and check ups here in the last two ends. So, you know, a caveat is, don't come with anything lighter than a firm control through the alley late in the game, because you may not be able to keep it straight. On that draw, that kind of saved Petrov from a speed standpoint. We're going back to the run back here, Kev.
Yeah, I was watching their setup, and Scimia trying to come up with a good way to get a multiple point end here. Nails the first, but looks like, oh no!
He moves it off, but he doesn't get it out of the forefoot, and so now the force is back on. Petrov can really be anywhere in the house. He's going to choose to go offensive.
Well, let me ask you this. If you're Scimia, Petrov now has got their final shot here in the 9th end. Do you let him take one? Let him steal one and buy you a hammer?
Boy.
Buy one?
Wow, that's a good one. No, I don't. I think it's easier to... Because whether you're tied or up one without, you have to play the same way, more or less. I'd like to have the lead.
All right, so Evo's shot here. It's coming in. It looks like it's going to end up very, very close to the stone he just threw.
It's totally going to do the job to put the force on, unless it doesn't get buried enough and leave a double.
They come down, almost no separation between them, so...
Ooh, I think the double in the blank is there.
Now coming in from the left-hand side, that guard comes in a little bit more in play, but it shouldn't be anything significant. They should still have plenty of room to get around that.
Yeah, and you'll throw weight at this. I mean, this is a peel. If he hits the top one at a quarter rock with peel weight, he blanks.
All right, so this is...
He does have... Chief Umpire Mike Hahn makes a great point here in the gallery. Again, the left-handed thing comes into play, so he's got to get out and around that guard just off center. Still a peel.
Again, beautiful release. And they're sweeping hard. I think he's wrecking.
No, he's by.
And no, just squeaks by. Looking at the overhead shot.
He got it all. And there's the blank.
Blank end. So
the blank didn't happen exactly as I thought it was going to happen. So I don't feel like it flew right in the face of what I was saying, but he got it.
Mm-hmm. First blank end here in the championship game. As now we're heading into the 10th end. Quick glance at the timer. And both teams with 7 minutes. Petrov with 7 minutes exactly, and Scimia with 7.5 minutes. So plenty of time here. The clock should not be any kind of a factor at all. And for Petrov, trying to figure out a way to get another steal. Stole one in the 4th end. Does he have it in there to pull off another steal? 7-7 as we begin the 10th end here in Rochester, GNCC Club Playdowns.
This is it, Kev. This is one end for everything. This is where you got to dig deep. I mean, you go back to that story about the Petrov team playing 6 scheduled games in a row, 4 10-enders in one day. They know how to dig deep. You look at guys like Skinny Larry, who looks like he's in reasonably good shape. He looks like he's hashtag fit to curl.
Well, back in high school, I mean, he was a running back in football, so if he has any of that left in him. Dave Bykowski, he does running, and actually he's looking at doing his first marathon. So he's in shape. We already talked about Eric Sebastian doing the century rides. So these guys are doing high-level athletic activities outside of curling. And that stamina definitely is going to come into play here.
They've called the tick on the center guard, and I think they've violated the free guard zone here. Petrov's going to...
Well, is it going to make it all the way out?
Oh, sure.
Yes, it does.
He's I was looking for a verb that went with custodian. I'm not sure it's an actual thing. He didn't custody that rock all the way out of there, but he made sure it got out.
Maintains custody rights?
Yes. I think Dorothy just said escorted. I think that's the word I was looking for.
All right, so the final stone in regulation, I guess I should say here, for Patty Colburn.
That was an interesting call to tick in a tie game. I understand you want the center open. You'll see the home team do it all the time. But you can't just draw the center here. As long as you stay high. I realize if you get in the back of the house, that's death. But, you know, you can throw corner guard out the window. One rock wins it.
Yes, that's a good point. It is just one rock. So Ed, again, calling for moving some of these center guards. This is stone number 4 coming up here. 5 stone free guard zone. The stones can be relocated.
You probably can't see on your cameras, but the entire team's taking a walk down the ice. They haven't called timeout. They don't really need to. They've got 6 minutes and 40 seconds, which is really a ton. Anything over 4.5 is plenty to get through a big end. I mean, they're talking about clearing these, but you have to be so delicate. I don't know how you move 2. Yeah, and now Larry's pointing to the 4 foot, and I think that would be what I would do.
Yeah, I keep looking at it. If you came in, you'd have to have such precise weight. And, you know, if one of those goes out, then they both get replaced. So
And I understand why Ed would
a low
be thinking
risk
about
reward kind of situation. So.
Yeah, you want to ensure you have half a sheet to work with the hammer. That's kind of your bare minimum.
All right, so they are going for, it looks like a draw to the 4 foot.
I mean, the good news is with the hammer, if he draws in, Evo can't afford to put a third guard, and then he can use Larry to start cleaning up on subsequent rocks. Again, this is the consequence of the 5 rock, or the lack of consequence of the 5 rock rule for the hammer team.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Eric Sebastian. Machinist out of Bridgeport.
Mikowski's got his brush down. He's clean, and he's taking no chances with this 10th end ice here. Looks like it's got plenty, and it looks like it's out there enough. Now they're switching over. Larry's going to shepherd it if necessary.
Oh, another word. And that comes to rest right on the tee line, so. But I don't think it's very well guarded.
No, it's not so much of whether it's well guarded. It's just that the guard is so long in front of it. There's no reason Don can't come in here with back 4 and bump this thing, or even go right to it, is I think what Petrov's first move. Just to establish leverage and make something dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if he were to bump it a foot, it'd be fantastic.
Sweepers were on it right away. Now it's really starting to swing.
Well, he's got that weight for the bump that I was talking about, but it's also keeping the rock tracking a little bit. And he's going to get an outside piece that did put it in there pretty well guarded.
Yep.
Nevertheless, Ed is going to open it up. Ed's taking no chances. It's going to be the rock in his hands to win the game or nothing. And I understand that.
Well, the one thing you don't want, too, is some kind of a goofy bounce, and all of a sudden, the opponent's rock is buried behind.
Oh, sure. Any sort of hit and roll later in the end by something you didn't anticipate.
And interestingly enough, not the call, but...
yeah, they really tried their best. I mean, Eric was hammering that most of the way, and they just didn't get the peel out there far enough.
Mm-mm.
That said, the guard that is on the center line now, the blue guard, is a lot further towards center than the previous guard was. So, and it's just as long, if not a hair longer, so it's not like it doesn't have a way at it. But Petrov is thinking about a way to make it. I'm sorry, it's not as if Petrov doesn't have a way at it.
I was watching the broom movements and trying to pick up the call from the ice here. I think we're just looking to have Arsenault come in and sit on it when all is said and done there. Maybe a slight bump back. Both sweepers just...
Yeah, and I think we're just out on that path again, and we're carrying. I mean, it's essentially the same shot as the previous. But I think, again, if we get any kind of bump, it's going to be really, really thin.
And it looks like it's just going to sail right through. Proverbial
Yeah,
field goal.
Now we're in church.
And Ed again focusing his attention on those front guards. And just as you said, Bob, looking for that clean path when it comes time for him to throw his 2 stones.
Yeah, and I like that they're using the intern here because they can conceivably get them both. The only danger is the red might go toward the center of the house if they do. Nope. Oh, but they didn't get both, so.
All right, well, the guards, single guard left now. Not really doing much of anything to protect the 2 stones in the house. And Petrov looking to do a takeout and a roll, try to get back behind that guard. That'll also, if he does it the way he's calling for, split the house, take away any double opportunity, but certainly there's a lot of draw right now.
Yeah, he'll leave a draw lane. The guard's also awfully long. There's still a lot of stones left to think about all those eventualities. But I don't think he just feels like he can't leave that there.
No, this is only first vice stone.
Like some schools of logic say you throw a center guard here because you know Ed will peel it on the next one, and so make him waste a bunch of rocks. But I think Petrov's trying to better his situation immediately and hope it's enough to force a mistake.
So this comes in, does hit the shot rock. Will not roll all the way out, but did roll. The shooter did roll over kind of behind that guard, and right away Scimia looking to have Bykowski clear it out. Trying to keep that front free of any guards.
Yeah, and then it'll essentially become a game of chicken. It'll be guard peel all the way out until Petrov feels like he has to loop another one in. The difference here, though, is in terms of the guard they just peeled versus the one Petrov's presumably going to put up, is he can put it up a lot tighter to the house and lined up a lot better.
And that's certainly just what he's calling for. He's looking for it to be just outside the 12-foot here with John DeYoung's final stone here in the 10th end. Where he had the call for this one is maybe just about a foot outside of the house.
Boy, and everything they've thrown this end on this intern side is just completely floated on them. Granted, both have been heavy, but...
Yeah, this one's a little closer to the TV line.
Yeah.
Maybe behave just a little bit different, as you mentioned before. You get outside the TV line, sometimes things get a little squirrely, but the ice here this weekend has been so consistent, I really don't expect to see much different.
And John really doesn't seem like he got all the way out there. He must have. Rock's still floating a bit. It's already starting to snap, though. They need to get completely over center and as close to the house as possible.
I'm surprised. Well, I was going to say, I'm surprised they're not sweeping, and just as I do, they both jump on.
Yeah, and they waited a little long. If they had hit that right away, like right out of his hand, popped it for line just a little longer, then it could have kept moving a little bit longer. And when it did start to curl, they could have hammered it the other way to force it closer to the house. But, you know, mission accomplished. If you put a guard up and the other skip feels he needs to peel it, you did enough.
Yep, another stone that's taken out of play. Bykowski.
Oh, and this one looks tight, and they're killing it. You've got Sebastian, you've got Boccieri on the brushes. And he didn't get rid of all of it, and so now Evo doesn't have to guard as much real estate. He can put that thing on the center line. And we're back to talking about that 11 inches of daylight.
Yep. So first skip stones here in the 10th end. Tie game. GNCC club play down crown on the line. Petrov only had to play their 5 games in round robin play and 1 playoff game to get to here. And Evo's shot on its way. Right away the sweepers jump on it. They took a look at their stopwatches and know that they want more on this one than Evo gave them. And this is going to end up being really, really high, Bob. This is going to be way out in zone 1, maybe.
Well, then they ought to
zone
just
2.
leave it. They need to stop curling as soon as possible. I mean, that took an inch or two off of the come around heavy draw kind of shot. It didn't take everything. Ed has a decision. He's got 2.
Well, the question is how confident is he about his ability to draw right in? Or is he looking to try to open up the lane? It looks like right now he's looking at trying to figure out how to draw in. Bykowski with his room, middle of the 8-foot, right on the tee line. Scimia, quick brush off of the stone. Big shot here in the 10th end. Sweepers look at their stopwatches. They're not jumping in yet. Just a light clean. And then right back off. Big swing coming in. It's starting to snap already. And that is right on top. For Evo, it seems like you want to put a guard up there, take away the lane that Scimia just used. We have plenty of time here to figure this out.
Yeah, and they have it. They have the right idea. They just got to make sure this doesn't overcurl. Basically, everything's been going on them. And I don't know if it's a matter of not getting all the way out there or if it's the release, the rotations. You know, if I were them, I might give this 6 more inches because you can undercurl this a little. You can't overcurl it. You overcurl it and you haven't done your job.
Yeah, the distance isn't the key thing. It's the side-to-side position.
Absolutely. Got to finish this one out toward the broom. Any kind of dump, and I suspect it'll tuck back into that guard.
All right, Petrov's shot is on its way.
They're already on it for line, I think.
It looks pretty light, too.
And I think you gotta let it go as soon as it starts to break, and then you gotta hope it stops moving and curling.
There's the hog line.
And it's done more. I mean, it's taken 14, 15 more inches away. So, you know, heavy draw is not a consideration. There is the blue run way on the outside there. They're going to call timeout and talk this one over.
Still have plenty of time on the clock.
That's right, I'll let him travel. When it stops.
So the timeout gives them a minute of discussion, and they still have 3:26 on the clock, so they want to make sure they get this right. This is this is it.
Yeah, I mean, they have 3 choices to run. My eyes were drawn to the blue one because it's their color, but they don't necessarily have to run a blue. Especially if you want to hit the, what I would call the outside of that blue stone, or hit it on the high side. More toward the right of the sheet as you're looking at it from the skip side. I mean, that's the way you're going to jam and stick it. I think if you run that blue, and the only way you jam and stick it is if you hit it extremely thin. But when we're talking about running stones in from 8 to 9 feet away, whether you run the blue and hit the other blue extremely thin, or run the red and hit the blue flush, you're talking about the same margin of error on the stone you need to hit.
Yep. Quite honestly, I kind of like the call of running the red in. I think, to me, that looks like a safer...
It's straightforward in the sense that, and again, we've got left-handed Ed, right? This is a hack-to-hack throw. If you, and you don't need the shooter to stay, or not the shooter, but the raised stone to stay anywhere, right? So, Ed throws this thing hack to hack, noses that red. As long as he gets anything on that blue at that kind of weight, at a normal takeout weight, he's probably dislodging the red that's touching half of the button right now and winning the game.
Well, it certainly has been an exciting weekend of curling here in Rochester.
Yeah, you can't ask for anything more. This is the championship game. It's down to the last rock.
Yeah, this is what you want to see. An exciting final shot. Still plenty of time on the clock. Just drifted under 3 minutes here for the Scimia rink.
Nothing's easy here, but Ed wanted to be skip. This comes with the territory. Now, I think they're lining up the blue one, based on where Dave is sitting, but he doesn't really have his broom up like he's setting a target. I think he's thinking about an angle. Yeah, and that's what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, I'm afraid about this one, though. Like, I think the angle's a little more outside of it. Because if you just drive this in naturally, you're probably just going to send your own blue on by the red.
Yeah, I see that as a higher risk.
But, you know what? Another option. They run this blue in. It dislodges the red. The blue that's on the forefoot goes away. But the blue that they raise in stays.
All right, well, here we go. Sweeper's on it immediately. To me, it looks like they're narrow from what was called. And this is all going to kind of just fall apart. So, your champions once again out of the Plainfield Curling Club will be the Petrov rink, as they will defeat Scimia here. Final score is going to be 8-7. And unfortunate there on the final shot for Ed Scimia, but certainly a great run as they come in as the runners-up. And again, still a chance that they can go to the Nationals, depending on what happens with the Alaska Curling Club.
Yeah, and last year 2 teams went from the GNCC and both fared really, really well. So let's hope these guys get the chance to go. They essentially did the Petrov marathon that Evo did last year in winning tiebreakers, 3-4 game, semifinal, getting down to the last stone of the final. I mean, they're worthy. They'll represent the GNCC well if they get that opportunity.
Yeah, so that will, patches, championship patches being handed out right now by Dorothy Roach, as well as the championship pins. So I think that will wrap up our broadcast here from TESN. The final score here in Rochester, New York for the GNCC Club Playdowns. The Petrov rink from Plainfield, New Jersey wins it 8-7 over the Scimia rink from Nutmeg in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I'm Kevin Twitchell, alongside of me Bob Williams. We hope you enjoyed today's broadcast. Please take a look at the TESN schedule for other upcoming events, and we look forward to having you join us again in our audience.
And for all of you participants this weekend who tuned into the final, I've gone through and annotated the archive of all the games, so it'll be a lot easier to find the games you played in and take a look, analyze them, work hard, improve, come back next year, and make a better showing. But as Kevin said, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next year.
Thank you, and have a golden night.